I was in the steampunk before they called it steampunk. I mean,
back when it was just called regular.
Yeah, regular. Yeah, like current events. You know.
Hey everyone, your buddy Basil here. Welcome to the Joyspiracy theory. We're so happy to have you. Today, we have a great episode with a good friend and colleague of mine, Dr. Future. Some of you may know Dr. Future, or Doc Future, as I'm insisting on calling him, from a wonderful, seminal podcast, radio show combination, Future Quake, where he co-hosted with the good old Tom Bionic, and they're really kind of the grandfathers, the godfathers, the grand godfathers of the Christian truth, fringe, community, prophecy, conspiracy sort of world. Future Quake, a lot of you, I'm sure, started listening to Future Quake a long time ago, or maybe you're listening to the archives. But if you haven't, you should go do that. That's definitely kind of where I got my start, Gons as well, from Canary Cry Radio. I mean, a lot of people. It was a big old show. They've got like 300 episodes in the archives. So go search that. But first, you can listen to this episode with Dr. Future himself. Really fun time, really great guy. I've really learned to love him. No, we've become good friends over the years. Being on, he's come on Canary Cry Radio a few times, and we've done some live streams with him, and now he's here. He's here. We got him, guys. Nice. So yeah, we talk about a lot of fun stuff. Kind of the usual stuff, but we talk about a little bit of steampunk, a little bit of prepping, and kind of his hygiene habits now that he's locked away writing his magnum opus that we're all so eagerly waiting for. His really, really voluminous tomes. Yeah, how's that for some vocabulary? All right, so it's going to be great. First of all, thanks everyone for leaving your ratings and reviews. Some of you have not done this, and you should really go do that. It's a personal favor. I know that you guys are out there. I see the numbers. You are listening. But now I need you to go leave a rating and a review. And I know I sound naggy, but it's just because I love you all so much. Oh, there's some codependent behavior. Anyways, okay, guys, here's the episode. Go leave a rating and review on iTunes, specifically if you could, so iTunes robots can share this around the world. And that'd be great. Also, if you're listening on YouTube, go check out iTunes, your podcast app, or Stitcher. Subscribe there. It'll just get delivered straight to your phone. And, that's cool. Progress. Okay, guys, here's the episode.
Hello.
That was the best second start I've ever heard. How you doing? This is Doc Future, right?
Well, no, actually, this is Doc Future.
Oh.
You're somebody else.
Oh, nuts.
And quit masquerading as me.
How you doing, buddy? Good to have you.
Oh, I'm in a constant state of euphoria. What about yourself?
Well, I mean, that's really good to hear. I wish I was doing that good, but I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be completely honest with the listeners. This is our second start to the show. And I just have
they
to
have
mention,
to guess about the mythical first start and what secrets.
That's true. Well, see, I gotta say,
yeah,
you're the fourth episode. You're getting in on the ground level, buddy.
So you got the three more important people first.
Yeah, I got President Barack Obama.
Yeah.
I had Putin on 2 episodes ago.
Pootsy
Pootsy. And then I had Justice Scalia scheduled, but he had to post. That was in poor taste.
Well, now you understand because of that first aborted start we had. I explained my role in Scalia's death. but I'm sure the listeners don't want anything to know about that.
Your secret knowledge of the conspiracy, but
Well, it's the hunting club. We finally voted him in to the hunting club.
oh, so like it's actually a little bit your fault. But like, are you racked with guilt about that, or?
Well, somebody has to be king,
It
king
is what
for the
it
day.
is.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody's got to stand in the wicker man.
Oh, goodness gracious. All right, just so everybody knows, if you hear like some mushy sounds, it's me eating a banana. And
Doesn't that make you sick?
no, no, the banana helps me. I took some supplements and I forgot to eat. So now I have to eat a banana or else I'm just going to vomit all over.
So you've decided that supplements are more important to take than real food itself.
No, I got the real food going, but I'm just kind of like on this. So here's what I did. I juiced.
Did Alex Jones have a sale or something? Are you supplementing for Armageddon?
Yeah. Alex Jones really got me with his sales pitch for these $80 bottles of supplements.
Yeah, that
The elite are eating these supplements, and you should too.
Jim Baker probably could sell you some of that survival food he sells too, with those big spoon with rice he eats out of the pails.
What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on the prepper pails, prepper food? Are you a prepper guy?
I started to be,
Yeah,
but Mrs. Future, my higher power, has to play along with it, and I'll just sort of say this. My perspective on it right now is that there can be real things, black swan events that really happen, like a pandemic, for example.
Sure.
And other things where you're stuck in place for a while. So it's not a bad idea to have some stuff for a whole range of, heck, somebody could set off a tactical nuke for a bunch of reasons in your area. I mean, it probably won't happen in our lifetime, but for that and other reasons, wouldn't be a bad idea to have stuff socked away just in case. But I don't have an arsenal to fight stuff off with.
Yeah,
I don't have. We've not made a bunch of extra efforts like that on what to do. I started collecting some things with water bottles, but I figured the water hazard if they leaked was greater than not having them. So
you don't want to mess up your carpet with.
Well, plus I'm getting old enough that I probably be best if I was one of the first people to go.
You just call it a day.
Yeah, first 24 hours. So
See, there was a point when I was like, I wouldn't call myself a prepper, but I was definitely prepper adjacent.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, I got like a backpack and got a fair amount of supplies just in case I needed to I don't know, survive or disappear or whatever. And I bought,
or if the government got wise to you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was the initial concern. And what was it? It was around the time that we just started Canary Cry Radio, and I had purchased like $90 worth of like high calorie survival bars that are like shrink wrapped in this crazy silver lining and were supposed to last like forever. And then I put them in my little storage area. Yeah. And it was just a couple months ago. I go in there and they had been completely ransacked by rodents.
Oh,
I mean, it was a mess.
It wasn't. You didn't have it sealed up, or it was?
They were sealed. They were like in vacuum packed things. But those little
no, I mean
sniffers.
the container that you put whatever you put them in the container.
Oh no, I just had them in a closet. It was. It was unwise.
Okay.
Yeah. So it just turned into like a giant pile of crumbs and like tin foil, basically.
And some happy rodents.
And some fat dead rodents.
Yeah, that knew where to show. Are these the ones that like run around in your bedroom and stuff and under your pillows? Yeah,
they're my friends, and like when I have to go to a ball, they like help dress me and like yeah, I open the window and birds fly in and tie my hair up in a sweet man bun.
Okay. Well, if you want to ask my unsolicited opinion to honk off a lot of people, Future Quake also asked a lot of questions like everybody else in the internetosphere about, how bad could things get and what's going on and look at the kind of stuff.
Right.
But I'm at the point now with a little hindsight and years behind me that I think it's gotten so much to where people are jumping the shark
Yeah.
Some Christian, some non-Christian organizations.
Thank you for using that term, by the way.
You're welcome. And people should look it up if they don't understand it.
Yep.
But anyway, I just think they've gone so far overboard to where they're ludicrous and they're a parody of themselves. Yep. And it's a shame because it's a good idea to have some general prudence. But in their zeal to try to keep selling and pumping product, they begin inventing gloom and doom stories to try to keep that pipeline of soul. And I can take a Christian and non-Christian examples both where they're doing this.
Yeah.
And made an industry, and it gets to be where you turn a 10 ear to it, and maybe something has some validity, but you cry wolf so many times. I mean, how many times were people going to take Steve Quayle and the red pill people or the red list people, and he was going to get hauled off every week? Oh. And after about 6 years of not getting hauled off, I wonder if it's coming this week or not.
Yep, it's coming all the time. I mean, when I first started doing podcasts, I was like, I gotta be ready at any moment because I would need to escape. But I'm starting to think because the prepping sort of mercantile is supposed to last so long, like those bars were supposed to last like 3 years or something. I'm starting to think that they planted a baby rodent in there.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe sea monkeys.
Maybe freeze-dried sea monkeys that
they would reactivate after time.
Reconstituted.
Right.
And that's now I have to go buy more dang bars before the 3 years is up. It's all a conspiracy, Dr. Fuchs.
Well, that would be, actually they could just buy off the shelf stuff for that because there's always like mouse droppings and other kind of eggs of stuff
from the factories
in regular food.
Yeah, it's
that
good
you
stuff.
You could probably have that hatch and eat.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so
I think you're on to. I think to me that's a good enough conspiracy. Now you can sell. Egg free,
guaranteed.
Have your own
mouse dropping free,
right?
Prepper food,
right?
All right, you heard it here first, folks.
Right, I'll endorse it if you want for a price.
That would mean a lot. Yeah, I'll give you a premium on that.
Yeah.
So what are you thankful for today, Doc Fuchs? By the way, just so everybody knows, this is Dr. Future, the wonderful co-host of Future Quake. One of the
ancient shows,
the ancient grandfather show with the fringe Christian deal, and so
back when dinosaurs roamed the earth.
Yes, back during the raptor conspiracy,
when people wore bowler hats and had bicycles with a big wheel in front.
What a crazy world!
Yeah,
19th century Victorian England or whatever, 18th century with dinosaurs.
Tom Bionic would take his little buggy and ride it over here to carriage.
It's like a steampunk paradise.
Right. I had like these little wheels I had to turn and to get energy and electric dynamo to get it running.
Are you into the steampunk thing? Because I know like a lot of, older people who are more into steampunk than like the younger generation.
I was into steampunk before they called it steampunk. I mean,
back when it was just called regular.
Yeah, regular. Yeah, like current events. Really the first, I would, from what I understand, steampunk being the first thing that was really representing that was the original Wild Wild West show.
Yep.
The Wild Wild West of like 66 or whatever. It was a merger of modern technology in an 1800s setting. Yeah. And science fiction weirdness.
And this is not the one with Will Smith in like 97 or something.
No, not the lame substitute.
Because that's what my generation thinks of. We think of Will Smith rapping.
Well, people always say, "Oh, yeah, I've heard that song before." It's like, no, I'm talking about the real first one, not the Beyonce remake. I'm talking about the real person that made the real song for a real purpose.
Right.
So yeah, that happens to me all the time.
Okay, so you lived in the Wild Wild West. Steampunk era.
I was sort of like James West, only more athletic.
Well, that wouldn't be hard to do. So I mean, I'm glad.
Fight Dr. Loveless. That was their arch enemy back then.
Wow, these references are just getting further and further over my head. But that's okay. We've got some listeners out there. Mary Jo Susan from the Midwest with 10 cats loves every reference you're making.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
She's into it.
Ask her if she's into James West.
I will. She's listening right now. Let us know what you think about James West, Mary Jo Susan.
Robert Conrad. You know, he was the guy who would put the battery on his shoulder in commercials and say, "I dare you to knock it off." And he's the one that dared Gabe Kaplan, the guy from Welcome Back, Kotter in Battle of the Network Stars. That was the most important moment in the history of television.
Yeah, you could be making this all up just off the top of your head, and I would have no idea. So
this is not part of your imprinted memory and history.
my DNA memory.
When he challenged Gabe Kaplan a one-on-one race after a disputed baton, you probably didn't even watch Battle of the Network Stars.
I have no. Is that like Dancing with the Stars? Only they battle with
only it
weapons?
was real. This was real. They actually swam against each other and had archery.
So it's more of an athletic thing.
Yeah, and all the A-list stars who would never be caught going to an event with lots of them there. They did it all for free.
See, I would be into that show. Like if it was celebrity. I don't even know. I mean, even as long as we're on the topic of preppers, celebrity prepper show. Just put them through a bunch of apocalyptic events and see how they survive with all their training from movies.
Or even better yet, set it up so they don't survive. It'd be like Snuff, celebrity.
It's like Hunger Games, celebrity Hunger Games.
Right.
All right. I'll pitch that. I'm currently working on some pitches for some television shows.
How about Battle of the Fringe Christian Radio Stars?
What do the battles entail?
I don't know. They could take all of us and put us in some kind of survival environment out in the, Nevada or something like that. Maybe a military test site, or
I'm into that.
Us at Area 51.
You know what I'm into even more?
What?
That you said us, and that means you still consider yourself a Fringe Christian radio host, even though you're currently not doing a show. But what is that like? I mean, give me your thoughts behind that.
To be emeritus?
Yeah.
Well, you would think, man, I got a whole bunch more time, because I was reading tons of books every week just to get ready for every interview every week, and a lot of logistics set up. And right now I'm just reading 10 times more books a week trying to finish my book series. So I'm busier than I was then.
Do you miss it? Do you miss being on the air?
There's parts I miss. I miss the joking around with Tom Bionic. I miss the good laughs that we would have. I miss reading viewers' mail and talking about it.
Right.
I miss having a moment with a guest that sometimes can be enlightening for them as well as us, where we're able to lead the conversation into a sort of a group revelation.
Yeah.
And I miss those points. And it was really cool to drive the Future Mobile to a conference and get out and have everybody know you, and you have instant friends. And people who say it's changed their lives, some of the people that I've had, policemen that say they listened to it in their patrol cars when it was on, to, women who would use it to get their babies to go to sleep. Wow. And everything in between. And
that's adorable.
Yeah.
You're seeping your way into the subconscious of young children.
Or I can put people to sleep even at a young age.
A little bit of both.
Yeah, that even don't understand to be bored at it.
No.
But, I miss some of those things because I enjoy having conversations. I enjoy laughing. I enjoy seeing the irony in things. Talking about very serious things, having serious opinions, and also not taking yourself too seriously.
Attaboy.
And and I like dealing with people that aren't the establishment national religious broadcasters type.
Right.
And the big money that tells them what to say and what to do. And I respect people that don't want to play ball with that.
There you go.
Yeah. And, I'm more open-minded, probably mentally better equipped to do the show Future Quake than I was the first 5 years of it.
Do you think you're ever going to bring it back?
Anything's possible.
Yeah.
I got to get these books going. I got to get, so the thing is, anything I do, I prefer it not to be ephemeral. I want something that has some lasting value, even if people decide it's of any worth or not. But I want to have something that has a little bit of some kind of, at least archival staying power.
Right.
And I think it's worth the time to sit and think about topics long enough to say something that's worth preserving, if even just in your own eyes.
Yeah.
And so, anything's a possibility. What's going to happen, As soon as I'm on the I'm like 650 something pages in the current volume, and I've got to wrap it up soon, and then got one more shorter one to do, and clean them up, and then start on the road tour. So what I'm hoping is people like yourself and Gons and some of our other friends, that we can have a long time talking about each of these volumes as I roll them out.
Oh, we definitely will. We definitely will. And we're going to...
Because there's a lot to talk about. The content of some stuff that I've uncovered in it. It's drastically changed what I'm thinking about a lot of issues.
Yeah.
I'm a very different person than I was when I started writing it.
And we kind of talked about that on the Canary Cry live stream that we did. And I want to talk about it a little bit more here later in this show. But the general idea behind the show, besides just me having a reason to like casually talk to these wonderful people that I've met over the years doing Canary Cry Radio, is that, with a lot of this stuff, when people start getting into it, the conspiracy stuff, the prophecy stuff, the world's going to end in 2012 stuff, our entire society is run by Luciferian Satan worshipers and things like that, it can kind of be a little bummer once in a while. You know what I mean? So This show, so far, I'm willing to let it turn into whatever it's going to turn into. But as of now, I kind of want to give people something to think about in the ways of like maintaining a healthy relationship with joy and happiness.
Getting off the ledge, in other words.
Right. And so that's why I think it's so interesting. You had a show for a long time, and the listeners know here that it only took me about, 6 months or so of doing Canary Cry Radio to just be completely at the bottom of the hole. Just more Illuminati piling on top of me, or whatever, GMO foods, whatever. Yeah. So you like I said, you were into this stuff back when horseless carriages were run on steam power. Right. So what was that journey like for you?
Well, it's interesting. I have had more people, even people close to me, worry about me being doom and gloom, right, than what I even thought myself. Just the fact that in spouse, close friends, family, pastor, other Christian friends, they'd hear me bring something up, or they would make some assertion that my data suggested was not the whole story, and I'd bring up some stuff, and it probably sounded conspiratorial, stuff where people weren't forthcoming, people that were famous or in the Christian world or political world or something like that there was another side of the story. And from that, they would construe, boy, you see things so negatively, you must be really depressed. You don't trust anybody. And in fact, that's not the case at all. It's just the fact with me is I have learned to do more verification. And the people who I do see as heroic, I really see as heroic. Right. And there are also some heroic people that I didn't even know to value before. Like there were people before. Well, and people will dispute this, and that's okay. But guys like Snowden, Edward Snowden, or Greenwald, that is reporting. Some other less known people whose lives have been in danger for being whistleblowers. Whistleblowers of all types. As far as on the spiritual front, Roger Williams, the guy who founded the colony in eventual state of Rhode Island. First Baptist Church in America. He's one of the few people of our early founders that I think understood everything. And it was basically allowing everybody to have self-determination of their own spirituality. Right. And trusting and actually working with Indians, looking out for people, not pushing Anglo-Saxon superiority on wherever he went. And there's a lot of stuff that I really admire that guy, and he took it on the chin from Christian people. Right. And he was on the right side of things. And so I find new heroes all the time.
So you kind of get to focus on it, you learn about all the bad people doing bad stuff, but learning about the good people doing good stuff kind of focusing on that is seems like a big factor in your not wanting to bury yourself.
Well, and that's a similar thing in my book series, as people will see, there's 1 million characters, and particularly I'm finishing a history volume on Christians and Holy Wars. And last year I wrote one on Judaism and Holy Wars. And they're the longest ones. And there's 1 million people that come in and out of the storyline as part of it. And the overwhelming majority of them have a lot of negative connotations with them. And we have given them, we've glorified them, and there's really not much to glorify. But every now and then, you'll come across somebody who time is forgotten and was the real deal. And I like focusing on them and talking about them. But regardless of all that, the fact of learning the truth leads you to Jesus.
There you go.
I tell you, the closest I came to getting real depressed going through stuff was a year ago when I was finishing up a history of Judaism and Holy Wars. And I started learning about how modern rabbinic Judaism was so drastically different than the Judaism of the Old Testament that we learned for all its faults, that it was something so different than what we're led to believe by our Zionist Christian leaders and stuff.
Right.
And when I started learning the real story, and particularly how they had perverted the good parts of their beginnings in rabbinic Judaism, and this started before Christ, but at the time of Christ, and I started reading the Talmud about the horrible slanders against Jesus.
Right.
That were alleged. I mean, most Christians don't know that they consider Jesus an adulterer, and they name some innkeeper who supposedly he seduced his wife, and all these other kind of things. And I see these horrible things that are said, and I remember I would stop, and going through this, I'd take my dog Pyro out for his business outside, and sit up there and think of the abuse that Jesus got from people like this, religious leaders, and later the apostles. They got the same kind of abuse, false accusations, other stuff, and it made me want to shed tears about what they went through. And then I thought, wow, how brave they were to go through it so that somebody like myself and you and others could get the true story. And then that made me feel good. And it made me feel real bad. And then I thought, Jesus, he really does love me.
Yeah.
He loves me. And then I thought about a verse in Hebrews chapter 2 or 12 where it says, "In Christ, for the joy set before him, endured the cross, despising the shame." And when I see depictions of the crucifixion in movies and stuff and hear sermons, they always talk about the agony that he was on the cross, the terrible physical suffering, and all that's true. My God, why have you forsaken me? And all these other things that they talk about. But that shows that actually he even had a joy, even on the cross. And that joy, because of the joy that was set before him, and the joy set before him was that the cross was the ticket to finally get permanently reunited with his brothers who were estranged, and paying a price for the redemption for his brothers. And that term, despising the shame, as I did a little research on the term, from what it was in the English, it actually meant to say it was not a big deal to him. that being flogged within an inch of his life, mocked, humiliated, all sorts of false accusations. I mean, he should have died just from the flogging, and to struggle to barely make it up there and then hang up there, under all of the abuse. That verse says that Jesus said, well, that wasn't a big deal. Because of the joy of getting my brethren, this is not that big a deal. And that blows my mind to think that his love would be so big that all of that abuse and false accusation was not a big deal to him in comparison. And that tells me that any kind of little pity party I have myself ought to be even that much more not a big deal.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it seems like he's kind of doing the same thing that you were doing, or you're doing this kind of same thing that he was doing, which is, there is a lot of sorrow going on. There is a lot of stuff to be bummed out about, but there's other things to focus on that the good is greater than the evil that's going on. Even though the evil might be more tangible, you might feel the spear in your side or the nails in your hands or the Illuminati oppressing you, but beyond the tangible is something intangible and so good that it's even better to focus on, huh?
I think the thing that helps me when I get the regular daily frustrations and setbacks and hassles and complications, stuff. Thank goodness I haven't had with the extreme crises that most of your listeners had to deal with.
Right.
Family members have, but mine are still coming. But when I've had those kind of things that frustrate me, I have to remember that the reason why we have so much sorrow and frustration and grief and depression and stuff with God, particularly regarding God, is because we can't accept the timeline that he's working on. If we could somehow see things out of the next 24 hours, and in fact, even a lifetime, and look to what's longer than that, and how he fixes the books beyond this, we could take a lot of this grief and depression off of our backs and recognize that he's not forgetting anything in the books. And, the example I always think of is when I see the poor kid that's got, he's got cerebral palsy, all twisted up in a wheelchair and can't communicate, can't speak with others, has a perfectly fine brain, perfect adult brain, and it has a barrier to share with others. And I think, most people think, and I understand when they say, well, how can a just God do something like that? How can a real God do these kind of things? But then as I read Scripture more and I see stories like the rich man and Lazarus and the other stuff of how things work when you add the beyond from this life, God's set of books. He makes sure that people like that are the people who are at the front of the line in the world to come, the world that matters.
Right.
The people who've taken it on the chin in this life are the ones who will be the leaders of the next. And so it would make sense to me that if I see people like that, I better treat them really good right now, because I'm probably going to be working for them in the world to come. And I better get in their good graces.
Right.
Because they have already been earmarked for positions of high levels and dignity, even though they're curled up in that chair. And so if I'm wise, what I'm going to do is to make sure that I was there for them when they needed me, so that they will be there for me. And you can look at examples of guys who were on the run, like Moses, when some people came to his aid, like his eventual father-in-law, or David, when people would come and help him when he was on the run.
Right.
He didn't forget that.
Yeah.
And Jesus said the same thing too. In fact, even a thief on the cross, he said, look, you say this kind word to me, you're going to be with me in paradise tomorrow.
Boom.
And, that to me is a reality check. Now, people who are dealing with real clinical depression will say, nice try, bud.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to replace a expert or someone who's been there on those deals. That's just, they have to, get professional help and work things out and things like that. But I'm just saying for myself, when I get really frustrated, I just think I'm forgetting the timeline of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, when you take that, bird's eye view of the whole thing, things start looking a little different there, right, instead of just what's right in front of us. I mean, that was actually a huge part. And I think intellectually is a huge part for a lot of the fringe Christian community. Intellectually, we can say, yes, like all these things are bad, but Jesus ultimately wins, or the game is rigged, or, everything's going to be fine when we get to heaven, or things like that. Intellectually, everybody can say that, and I think everybody has at some point.
Right.
But I remember even, back in the day when I was, the first 6 months in there doing the show, intellectually, I'd say that. I'd even close out shows with that same speech, pretty much.
Right.
But it can't quite sunken into my spirit yet. It has now, and I think it is like it takes time to sink in. Definitely. Yeah. I don't know if there's any other ingredient besides that, but
right. Well, the scary part, if we're really honest with ourselves, when we do wallow in that depression, it's just another expression of doubt or unbelief. And, we know unbelief's a bad word, so we focus it into something else, discouragement or whatever like that. But it's really just garden variety unbelief. And it's natural. We all go through it. but we need to recognize for what it is. And the other sad thing is if we get all depressed and we just say it doesn't matter anymore and I'm just going to either hunker down and,
that's the worst.
Yeah,
hunker down tactic never works. Anybody out there?
Or live frivolously or do whatever like that.
Right.
But basically, whether you know it or not, you're assisting Satan in his rebellion because we have been given an assignment of work to do. We are participants in the kingdom, not spectators.
Yeah.
We were never called to sit and watch everything. We're talking to follow the lead ox, follow Jesus, put that yoke he has, put it the other side of it on us and get to work. And so when we let all that kind of stuff, basically we end up sitting in the sidelines, whether it's a seat of scoffers or somewhere else. And Satan, that helps him.
Yeah.
And his cause. And in fact, if we would really believe what the Bible said, his apostles, when he sent out the 70 and they were actually casting out devils and doing all this other stuff in the real war, which is, to me, that was the violence of the kingdom coming, that he said, violent men take it by force. They were taking it by violence in the heavens, in the spiritual war. But he told them, he says, I had seen Satan fall from heaven. And in fact, I wonder if, in fact, Satan fell from heaven right before he came down to see Jesus in the garden.
Right.
If that's actually what Jesus saw when he was there and been fasting those 40 days, he saw, and this is something that the incarnation, the first advent of Christ, that sometimes those of us who grow up with this little cuddly little baby in a manger and stuff, it doesn't suit our masculine sensibilities. You know, the second coming, boy, he's got a sword coming out of his mouth and people dying left and right. That's pretty macho. But the little baby in the manger, that's for the ladies. That's what the ladies enjoy, a little soft, cuddly Christmas. But the fact is, what I suspect is, that was one of the biggest parts of the war in heaven was right then. Yeah. And that when Satan was cast down, he was stuck down there to the earth in desperation, trying to fool Jesus into saying he had a kingdom to offer him that was really not his, because as a pure man, as well as being fully God, but as a pure man, he was entitled to the dominion of the earth that God had given to mankind, and had not given over any of his leadership to Satan, as those of us who sin have. He was not tainted by any of that. He had every right to the earth, and Satan had no right to offer it to him. And Jesus told him to get lost. And so, from a Jesus perspective, he's like, this is one. Yeah. And on the cross, when he went through that was, if to try to use a World War II analogy, I think to me when Jesus showed up on this earth, it was sort of like the armies arriving here on D-Day. And there was a long time between the prophets, the Old Testament, hundreds of years until Jesus came. And sorry about the phone there. That's okay. And but it'll go away here. Anyway. It was a long time.
We can put him on the line if you want.
Well, it may be Mrs. Future, so okay. I don't want you to hear the higher power.
Okay, talk. We got to hear the higher power talk.
But the same thing happened with D-Day. It went many, many years, World War II, as they got more and more subjection underneath the Axis, and everybody thought nothing's going on. And the reason why is it took all the right circumstances to get ready for D-Day. And when Jesus showed up on the scene, that was basically, the footprint of the heavenly army on this turf. And that's why I think when the shepherds saw the heavenly host, and that was an army. That was an angelic army that was there. Yeah. And so war was going on at that time. And that's why he said violent men are taking hold of it. And when he sent the 70 out, this was showing now the power that was available when the foothold on earth had been established. And at the cross, it was like the final push of the forces of evil to try to doom mankind, like a battle of the bulge. And the battle of the bulge was stopped there at the cross. And so at this point, God has sent in the Holy Spirit, sort of like General Marshall with the Marshall Plan, to basically solidify the territory that had been conquered and to put in a new administration. A new administration that's running it, there's still pockets of resistance, and they will be until Jesus comes for the final administration. But if we keep that in mind, we have this view, this Eastern view, that the forces of darkness and evil are like balanced. And they're balanced.
Right.
You know, you watch Star Wars and stuff, and you think, oh, there's got to be this balance and this yin and yang. But there's no such thing. The fact is, the enemy has already been defeated. Healing, restoration to us has already been absolutely assured. It's all a timing thing of when the timing is to let the rebellion run out of steam. And it'll go out with a bang, you know. We see in Revelation that all of the culprits, the seals are going to be opened up and the indictments read for Babylon, and the sons of God who rebelled against God will be their charges will be read in the seals, and they're all going to be cast down in jail, and they're going to have one big prison riot for a few years, which is a very short time, and there's going to be mop up of that, and God's going to allow them to sort of do each other in. And, and then it's done.
Boom.
And so that's the case. So it's not like, I say all this to say we act like all is lost. Well, my political candidate didn't win, therefore all is lost. Somebody, Supreme Court did something that I didn't like, so all is lost, or this or that or whatever.
Yeah.
When the fact is, you just don't have a right view cosmically of what has happened, what is going on. And what's to be completed, because if you do, we're putting up with harassment, basically.
Yeah.
Grief, pain, separation from loved ones, but it is going to be short lived if we can get an eternity view to things.
Well, you make a great point, because especially when, like you said, something in the Supreme Court goes the wrong way, or a political thing goes the wrong way, or some legislation that we disagree with goes the wrong way, and then you'll see people post articles on Facebook or something, and just the average answer is like, oh, the times are drawing near. The times are going to be, this is the end times, sign of the times. And on one hand, it's like yeah, you're right. Like that is sign of the times. So we're getting up there, whether or not Jesus comes back in our lifetime or not. But, this was all predicted, but it's kind of a resignation. It's like, oh, well, things are going to hell in a handbasket. Mm-hmm. But when you really take a step back, I mean, you don't really have to be resigned to it in a negative way. You see a lot of negative resignation, when in fact it should be more of a, you see that it happened, you recognize that it happened, but in the long run, you see that it doesn't have an effect on the end result. And instead of being kind of snarky about it, you should, still kind of be happy in the victory that's coming.
In occupied Germany, there were all sorts of terrorist acts going on. They would put wires across the road, to hit guys on motorcycles. They would do this in pockets of resistance and this and that and whatever. And if that's all you saw was that, you would think, oh no, it looks like the tide's going to turn. It looks like we've lost this battle, and that way in fact, I have nothing to do now. I don't have to work anymore. I don't have to struggle because the victory's been lost anyway. So I'll kick back in an easy chair and do like they do on the prophecy forums online.
Yeah.
And when wars start, I'll just use the little popcorn eating emoticon and be entertained by it.
Right.
When the fact is, if you look beyond it, basically what you see are the last gasp of an unsustainable system. Because Babylon is just the ground operations of what I call the cosmic rebels. All the different groups that have rebelled in the heavens, and then their human henchmen down here doing it. And it's fundamentally Darwinistic. It's Darwinistic in that it believes that everybody will look out for their own skin, that you can pay people enough money or threaten them or do something to get people to do whatever you want. And that's the system they operate. They don't create anything. They just run through natural resources. They burn up oil. They burn up labor of poor people. That whatever they don't replace. Nothing sustainable.
Right.
And that's how Babylon runs. So they just use up the goodness of the earth. And so they themselves will be their own undoing. The lack of trust, the lack of loyalty that's present within them, the self-serving nature, and that's why when Jesus came and gave the teaching of the kingdom and the Sermon on the Mount and elsewhere, there's nothing unique or just nothing sort of unexplainable in what he taught. Basically, Jesus taught is that there's a new eternal society that's being built, and it's starting now. And the eternal society has to have only people in it that are unselfish and that look out for each other. Otherwise, eventually, time it'll come unglued. If
that
you have
doesn't
any
sound
stuff,
very Republican of you, Dr. Future.
well, maybe that's because conservatism probably, as I speak this as one who's been conservative almost my whole life, is really nothing than just veiled social Darwinism.
Mm.
It's another form of, it's really conserving the status quo and conserving who are the ones, holding all the chips.
Right.
And it really, whether it's gunboat diplomacy or whether it's an economic system that's designed to keep the haves and have-nots, that's all just Darwinism. And we fight about how many days of creation there is, and then the church swallows Darwinism whole through those activities. Mm-hmm. The Darwinism that really matters is what they embrace.
Right.
And so that whole system is, like I said, it's unsustainable, and it's burned through all of the goods of the earth in a relatively short time. And God's creating the ultimately sustainable society, an eternally sustainable society without selfishness, without self-serving aspects to it. And he will make sure that it stays for forever.
Boom.
And that the people who are willing to accept that it will do forever. And so we have pockets of these self-destructive people, and they're people that include billionaire politicians, for example, that are basically, they exploit people as long as they can and then ruin themselves and others. And eventually they will run out of steam. God won't have to do much of the destruction. They'll do a lot of it themselves. And, we got a ticket out of that. And
so
our job is to get people out with us,
yeah,
including some of these people who are deluded now, like we once were. And we need to be patient with them and help them out of that to show that there is this eternal society and there's a spot for them. And that they can trust that the needs, that the satisfaction they're looking for is going to be met, that contentment is actually possible. That's the great missing element in our society and has been for a long time.
Contentment.
People have no idea how to be content.
Right.
If they only had a different spouse, if they only had more beauty, if they only had more money and a few more things they could have and be independent and this and that, if they only had a summer home and a boat, and they have all these kind of things, and it's a missing target, and the wealthier people are, the more pitiful and obvious it is. And we have a ticket out of it. And we don't have to wait till then to have it. We can have it right now. We just have to have it right now and in a body that's sort of falling apart.
Right.
But that's okay. It will. And I try to eat more factory-made food to preserve it as best I can.
It's your way of protecting the earth. You don't want to eat the fruits of it.
Well, that ground was cursed, so I have to make sure.
Oh, man, you've got an argument for everything. That's great.
It's got bad stuff in it, so, I eat that man-made stuff.
Let me ask you this. Do you think, well, I got a few things I want to ask you about. First of all, do you think that a sort of a knowledge of all these fringe Christian things, or a knowledge of the true corruption of society that we sort of have at least a finger on the pulse on, do you think that's something everybody needs to know, or is it something that some people could do without?
I think, to me, ignorance I never recommend as a preferred option. There
sounds smart.
There can be a point where you get going down a rabbit hole so far, so obsessed with it, and conspiracy theorists are notorious for that.
Right.
That you basically aren't doing anything constructive anymore.
Right.
You just aren't. You make yourself hyper paranoid. You can't believe anybody anymore, and that's why you need to have more close friends. Your close friends aren't like these really well-to-do strangers that we see that are celebrities. Mm-hmm. These are people you can get to know and see that they're real people.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it is how you package it. How do you put it in a real constructive perspective? And the way that I see it, because I've been going through a bunch of dirty laundry, including a lot of stuff that I've not revealed to everybody yet. But it's like future Quake on steroids that I'm coming across, and it's a much wider net than I ever thought.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get a lot of grief and a lot of criticism because I'm going to step on a lot of sacred toes. But the fact is, it's not that the purpose is not just to disparage everybody.
Yeah.
It's not just say all is lost. What it does show is that we have taken a lot of stuff, particularly in the Christian world, that has no real justification in the gospel or Jesus, and we've mixed them all together, and it's given us a tummy ache, when in fact we've mixed some sewage in with some pure water. And so if you're using a strainer to find that sewage, it's not that like you're just interested in sewage. It's like you want pure water. And what I have found is there is a pure gospel. Jesus is spotless. Now, none of this dirt has come on him that I've uncovered. There is a pure way to look at him, to worship, to relate to other people. And sometimes you got to go through the mud, to go find where the eggs are.
Yeah.
And so I don't see it in a negative way. What I do to tell people is I don't have a problem with showing the dirty laundry of the church to people who aren't Christians, because one, they already know it. And two, they respect people who are willing to admit it. And three, the main thing I need to show them is that Jesus or the apostles or the reality of the gospel has absolutely nothing to do with it.
Right.
And that is a stepping stone, in my view. That gets beyond a roadblock that has some justification while it's there, and is a stepping stone for people.
Yeah. So your strategy is kind of, learn the things, but don't learn it for learning's sake. I mean, you can kind of learn the fringe worldview or whatever, but it's not just for the purpose of knowing it. I mean, there's a lot of constructive things that you can take out of developing that worldview and actually using it instead of just letting it sort of fester in your mind.
Well, in fact, I know what you mean by fringe, and I know when I've been in there, and I've not minded wearing that mantle when I see the mainstream so corrupt.
If you have a better name for it, please give it to me.
I just call it truth. You go searching for truth. Now, in my book series, right now I'm at about 3,500 pages manuscript.
Oh my gosh!
As I've gone through this, the sources I use are world-class scholars.
Wait, you said 3,500 pages, right?
Yeah.
Like 2 zeros, 35.
Yeah, and it's all heavily footnoted, and many references per page on that.
Dr. Future, that is insane.
Well, and I'm hoping people will read it all at one sitting.
Yeah.
Get a comfortable chair. But anyway, as I've gone through this, I haven't used like these hush-hush whisper kind of conspiracy rags. I use world-class Oxford, Cambridge, Ivy League experts. I use their historical books and information. And what people think is fringe information is stuff that's been in historical books, but people aren't reading it.
Yeah.
People aren't bothering to go do the slightest bit. I can go on Amazon and keyword search and find these references. And I read this information, and it totally changes my view of everything. And you start reading a number of books on a topic, and you start seeing a consensus emerge. But it's not what David Barton is saying. It's not what a lot of our Christian leaders are saying. On historical events, on who was the white hats and the black hats and this and that.
Yeah.
And you start learning, and there's not a single fringe source that I use. Something that can't be verified, that I don't use source material for. Mm-hmm. I get it from the horse's mouth of where it came from. And I've taken the tremendous, while people have been frustrated with me for not getting the sources out, it's because I want to get the source material, and there's a lot of stuff that's really juicy that would really fit the narrative that I want to make, or my friends. But the fact is, I can't verify the source material that makes it up to snuff. It's probably likely to be true, but I can't verify it. So I set it aside. Unless it's something that I can see absolutely sure was something worthwhile saying. And believe me, the things you can verify are so incredibly fantastic that you're going to be labeled fringe even though you've gotten all your details lined up impeccably.
Right.
Christian people don't believe me. And I'll say, well, look, here's the source material. You can see it yourself. What are you relying on? What is the veracity of the information of the narrative you've been operating on?
That is my favorite question to ask people. Whenever I'm talking about, anything truth related, even if it's not necessarily about the truth or about Nephilim or anything like that, is I'll give them some facts. I'll give them some source references. And then they'll still be like, nope, you're crazy. You're a conspiracy nut. I'll be like, okay, well, why? Like, what is making you say that? What in you? What source do you have that's what you think? And it's always like just because everybody knows that that's not what happened, or like, everybody knows that's not true.
That's why I decided to go through the ordeal of writing these books, is that people will say that and they will end the conversation there, and it's just at loggerheads. Right. And what I have done is I've gone back and done the shoe leather to get the source material. I have the references.
Can I just say, you're filled with these awesome little turns of phrase that just show that you once lived in a steampunk era.
Okay.
I've done the shoe leather.
Okay. I guess that's bad.
No, it's awesome.
I guess it's negative.
I'm enjoying it. I'm actually asking if you can just do more of it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Arcane references?
Yes. More, please.
Oh, okay. We'll do. Well, they pop up. I speak regularly with Robert Hyde, a guy you probably heard about, regular guy on our show. And
sure.
You should interview him, too.
Okay.
And I usually dose most of them to him because he's an old geezer like me. So
that's
awesome.
all
I'm on him. But anyway, I go back there and take the effort to put the sources where they can go back, find the books. I would say 85% of it I have been able to find online sources where I give the URL. People can click on it, go to the page where it is, or articles that I've responded from, New York Times or major newspapers, and they can read the source material as well directly from my books.
Right.
So they can go out. I mean, I put the concise quotations. So, if they're lazy and they don't want to do it, they can see where I'm getting at. But it's there because that way you can give that stuff to your friends and say, look, here it is in black and white. And then challenge them. Say, well, let me see your references. And, it's a lot of work. I don't know if people are going to be willing to spend a few dollars to buy a book for the infinite hours I put in it. No, nobody promised it to me, so they don't know it to me, but I hope they do, because what they'll find is all sorts of stuff to bring conversation to a standstill, at the church dinner party or family get together or small group or whatever. They'll have information that people can, but it's not the point is not to just go, aha, and to get somebody. The point is, can we stop the foolishness and really get back to what Jesus has called us to, which is a joyful activity, which is a loving, which is what he calls a ministry of reconciliation. Can we get back to that? Quit the gossiping about this people group or that people group the slander.
Thank you.
And let's just get back to finding out how we can build bridges. Like my blog says, by the way, which I don't know if your listeners are aware of it, but I get bugged about disappearing for a long period of time. So I did relent to do a blog, and I'll go through spurts of it, and then I'll be embroiled in my book stuff. But I did put a post up there the other day on that topic of building bridges versus building walls.
That's awesome.
And it's got some interesting references in it, too.
I'll throw a link in there. What's your name, the blog? Give us a link.
It's called the Two Spies Report.
Ah, yes.
The link is twospiesreport.wordpress.com.
There you go.
I'd love for everybody to join it. You see some interesting... You see some people really slamming Dr. Future. Some people might enjoy that. I got a few trolls on there that I guess I criticize one too many groups, and I'm persona non grata. So if you enjoy that, people raking me over the coals, you can see that in the comments.
Go do that. I know I love it.
But it's the little treatises I do in there are not like a bumper sticker or a slogan. I try to have a little bit of time to flesh out some stuff. And it's only controversial stuff. I don't talk about the stuff that we all agree on. why waste your time doing that?
I've noticed that about you.
So why not the stuff that pits us against each other? That's the juiciest. It's like picking at a scab,
Oh gosh. All right. Well, you know what, Dr. Future, that's awesome. And I always love having these conversations with you. I know how's your time doing?
I'm going to have to wrap up in about 5.
Okay. All right.
Because my higher power is trying to reach me. And
we don't want to anger that one.
Coordinating our evening, yeah.
Okay. So I just got a couple things that I wrote down here as you were talking. First of all, so you speak of the goodness of the earth, but also we all know you exclusively eat food made in factories with no natural ingredients at all.
Preferably no natural ingredients coming into the factory.
There you
chemicals.
Go. Right.
Yeah.
What's your relationship with the earth? Are you a nature man, or what's your deal?
Well, Tom Bionic always makes fun of me when I said I would like to be a farmer as long as I didn't have to get dirty or go outside.
So you like it being there?
Yeah, I mean, it serves some purpose. It provides gravity.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have gravity without that mass there.
As far as we know, yeah.
Right. And there's some pretty pictures on TV. I've seen on television there's pretty places to go.
Okay. Well, let's try this one. You have a dog named Pyro, which is Pyro. The best name for a dog. I think I've told you that before. Does he have like any, just as a sidebar, does he have any like secret super dog powers? Like, is he an X-Men dog? And
I think
blow fire or something?
I think on the Future Quake website, there's a picture I put up there where he organized his kibbles of food in some kind of pattern like the Nazca lines there in Peru. That he was actually encountering the space astronauts with how he positioned them.
Yeah.
And he cannot hear my voice now at 14 years of age to call him, but he can hear the pan that I bake treats for him. He can't hear that from several rooms away.
So he does have a connection with some sort of extraterrestrial thing, and he's now been blessed with hyper-intelligence.
Right, that and the gift of cuteness.
Which is the most powerful thing of all.
Well, it has hypnotic effect over me to give belly rubs with frequency. And that's part of why I'm writing the books here, too. I couldn't do that duty and work a regular job.
Yeah.
So
I understand.
I'm washed up on that kind of stuff. But, yeah. Pyro's doing good. He's 14 plus right now. And
still kicking? Still strong?
The ladies still like him outside on their walk. He's got some lady friends out there.
There you go, Pyro.
Yeah, he's the man.
Nice.
But yeah, we're doing well. God's bless. You asked me about if I had anything to be thankful for.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's usually the first question, but we'll
surprisingly we got distracted. Amazingly, but my first answer was going to be not at all. And on second consideration, I'll have to say, probably the biggie is I'm glad that my name's written in the Lamb's Book of Life.
Boom.
That has some long-term implications there.
That's a biggie.
And I believe that I'm rooted, which means when the storms and stuff comes that, I'll still be there. That's good. I have an awesome wife, and Pyro's great. I had great upbringing. My mom and dad are great folk, raised very simply, not a fancy household or anything, but we had a great home. I got some awesome friends. I got some really awesome friends. I got a little rat pack I get to hang out with, a lot of them that you know. And I got an awesome church and a pastor that I'm close friends with, and they're willing to teach on things that no other church would teach about, and they're very brave, and I really appreciate them for it. And, I get a dry place to sleep every night, and mostly unless there's some crisis that happens there I have to fix, like the dishwater leak, but got a dry place to live. I can usually find something in the cupboards to eat. Might be out of a can, but, good on that. Yeah.
From a factory.
Yeah. And I can really get up and do whatever I want to do. The real key is at this time of my life, how much stuff really matters to want to do it. Mm. And I find talking to a friend like you is a lot more important than the stuff that I see on the commercials on TV for people who go to those Caribbean islands those all-inclusive stuff. My lifestyle's not like those people.
You're not a Sands Resort, Bahamas guy?
I would not make a good commercial for those. My life is spent around fluorescent lights most of the time.
I'm gonna start a Kickstarter to get you a vacation to Sands Resort.
And I'll send pictures. I'll do a video travel vlog of that.
The prize for donating to the Kickstarter is a picture of you on the beach in some short shorts.
Yeah.
And your flip-flops.
Yep. Some Speedo I'm gonna wear.
And we'll get a before and after picture and see how well you tan.
Okay. All right. I'll get scuba diving. I'll go do that. And you can see me in one of those little flambe tables with the big fire. And nightclubbing.
We should do a whole documentary where it's just you at a all-inclusive paid vacation to the Sands Bahamas.
Don't forget the nightlife.
Of course.
The nightclubbing and nightlife,
Yeah.
That would fit in with my lifestyle really well.
And then there's a secondary sub documentary about Pyro. And you got to bring him.
Yes.
And him making friends with
beast in me. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Hedonism is that's the first word people think of when they think of me. But most of the body parts work real well.
Good.
My stuff is a problem like sinus problems and stuff. But I'm getting older. I'm going to be 52 in a couple months, and I feel
you're still a young fella.
Well, I still feel like a 14-year-old that's real awkward, and I haven't figured life out. I don't know what I'm supposed to do when I grow up, and I'm really starting to feel like I'm never going to figure it out.
You're a young dude. You're younger than my dad. So we could be brothers, is what I'm saying.
I guess that's a compliment.
Yeah, I'm saying
your dad.
Where you and I could be like weird brothers who were born like way too far apart, and I was accidentally born like much later than anybody thought could happen.
Well, that's true. That's true. And here's the positive things about my age. It's probably less and less likely I'm going to get drafted.
That is a big
Probably. I'd have to be like one of those ones defending the homeland where they give me a tank buster along with the 14-year-olds. It'd have to be something like that because I'm probably not going to be shipped overseas.
And your uniform doesn't fit quite right.
Right. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Right. If I have any. So that's good. I'm not going to get drafted. If the Antichrist comes and throws us all in jail, he's running out of time on me. the clock is running out to like depress me with long term. Probably not going to have any kind of Reverend Wormbrand 14 years in a pokey.
Right.
So I got that over them. And so there's a bunch of good things about getting older like that.
Yeah, well, it looks like you got a good view on the whole situation. You really got that bird's eye view.
Right.
You're practicing what you preach.
So I hope everybody else, the listeners, get old too. I wish that on them too.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be fun. I'm actually kind of looking forward to getting a little older.
You don't care as much about how you look,
right?
You don't have to feel like you have to hold your gut in for the ladies. That's always a plus.
That's going to be a huge relief.
Yeah, I can still wear my clothes from the 70s, even though they don't fit well, and not worry about fashions.
Yeah, well, actually, every few decades or so, it'll come back into fashion.
Right. In and out. That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. You're probably looking pretty styling right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, usually I wear sweatpants on and like ill-fitting clothes. That's usually I do radio interviews.
I will say, last time we had you on the live stream for Canary Cry Radio, you did have to do a quick wardrobe change because I think you were just in a tank top.
To be decent?
Yeah, and you had to be decent, so you threw on your hoodie and then surprised us all. Everybody should go watch the live stream Canary Cry Radio with Dr. Future because
I forgot about that.
You said you kept going, okay, before we leave, before we hang up, let me go do something. Wait right here. Like, okay, what is this? You gonna plug a book? Like, what's gonna happen? And you show up with your luchador mask. And I felt so connected with you at that moment.
You didn't expect that one, did you?
Nobody, that would have been literally, not even the last guess. That would never have been a guess of what you were doing. So everybody needs to go do that. It was wonderful.
Most of these interviews, if they were like on camera, I would look like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed after they just captured him. Or they, after got done waterboarding him, that's sort of that look on my face.
You've got the...
Or Saddam Hussein in the spider hole.
Right, you've got the... I've been locked up in a hole and possibly tortured for months on end.
Yeah, if you want to do fundraising for me, that's the picture I need to send you. Something pitiful.
And we'll play some...
Here's Dr. Future in his native habitat.
The angels fly away. And it's just like slow fading pictures of you in your tank top.
You can see my stomach distended like the hungry kids.
For just pennies a day, you could help this.
And I'll write you a letter once a month.
Yeah. You know what that reminds me of is that movie, what is it? About Schmidt.
Okay.
Where he, have you seen that movie?
No, but I think it was that with
Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, Nicholson. Yeah,
yeah, and he sponsors a child in Africa and gets like drawings and letters from this kid, and I just imagine that from you.
Yeah, I would do that.
Yeah, but it's like it's narrated by like an African nun to the letters, like, "Dear Mr. Basil, Dr. Future is doing very well.
Oh, that's very excellent. Yeah.
He loves crayons, and I don't know, something like that.
Yes, he's stopped the leaking in the hut. Yeah, well, that's me. That's me. But I'm content, and life is exciting to me. Going out and like making a big thing in the corporate world or entrepreneurial, and I think sometimes in the day, like, am I nuts? I hear I have a PhD. I got a lot of credentials on my resume. I had a lot of neat things that happened in my career and connections and business things that happened and my patent stuff. It's like right at my prime, I threw it all away. And the fact is, I set it down because I found something better.
Yeah.
And what I'm doing is not making a penny, but I'm so rich. I mean, so incredibly rich because of all those things I just listed to you. But the other big rich thing is that I'm motivated every day when I get up.
Yeah,
I'm excited. There's nobody that wants to get these books done quicker than me because I want to start the conversation with them. I want to see what other people I respect, what they think about the information, who are new people we can stick it under their nose, what are new conversations we can have on totally unrelated things. I'm not bored in the slightest. I'm excited about every day. I look at all the craziness going on in our election stuff right now, and I'm thinking there's something spiritual, good or bad, going to come out of it, but it will have something that will have an impact on what I can do.
Yeah, and it's great because you're echoing a sentiment that me and Josh Peck talked about a couple episodes ago, which is, once you find that thing that you feel that God has called you to do, and you know it because you wake up every day and you're just so happy to do it and you feel lucky and blessed that you can do it. I mean, that will supersede any sort of depression or ill feelings that you could ever have.
Yeah, you'll still have setbacks, disappointments, things don't work out. You may go backwards for a while. But if you have something you feel like that you can contribute, even as small, in your view, that should get you up out of your bed and, go to it. And don't expect for some kind of big mega thing or the world's going to come and all collectively recognize that and think what a genius you are or how valuable you are or skilled or beautiful or whatever. Just don't even waste time waiting for that. It's meeting your own standard.
Yeah.
And I still remind myself that all I'm trying to do is trying to scribble on some little coloring picture like a little kid for their parents. And I'm trying to scribble some kind of mess and hand it to Jesus so he can put it on his refrigerator.
There you go.
That's all I'm trying to do. And I know what Jesus will say. That's really nice, Mike. I'll put it right up here. Thank you so much. And that's enough for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen, brother. Well, I like that a lot. And as always, I consider you a better and better friend the more we talk. and I'm gonna have you back on one of these days, especially when your books come out here.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna take a jab at you because I know.
What a refreshing change from other people who will remain nameless.
All in the Lord's time and all in your time, and just I can't wait to see your face shaven. And if you ever do shave, if you ever do, could you do a big mustache?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Handlebar. I like a Fu Manchu, so people think I'm a Vietnam vet.
Yeah, do a big old whatever it is, your style. I'm not even gonna. I mean, I might take a poll to see what the fans will like, but ultimately it is your decision, and whether or not you want to disappoint everyone or not is up to you.
Well, I just have to make sure I have enough testosterone to grow a good thick beard. Older you get, the harder sometimes that is.
Yeah, well, they have pills for that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But no, it'd be great. I can't wait. I do feel like sometimes I'm like Nehemiah. They're building something, and some of your radio friends are like Sanballat and Tobiah, just throwing eggs at me.
Yeah,
over there while I'm doing it. But I know they're not really like that. They like me. They just like to make fun of me as their way of showing how they like me.
We like picking on you, but this is a safe place. This is a safe place, Doc Fuchs.
Well, I'm so glad I found that safe place where I'm loved and nurtured.
All right. Well, thanks so much, buddy. Real quick, why don't you throw out some links? You got the Two Spies Report.
Yeah, .wordpress.com.
Okay.
Two Spies Report.
Are you on Facebook? Do you have a Facebook fan page for that at all?
Facebook is of the devil. The Antichrist runs Facebook, so I stay away from that.
All right.
No, I don't. I don't have the mental ability and the educational ability to be able to function on Facebook.
It takes a little bit too much energy.
I can't even find information when I go on there, so I let my wife do that stuff. So, but go to the blog and sign up, and I'll also put you on a mailing list for the books coming out. Go to futurequake.com if you haven't listened to all 300 shows. I'm amazed how many people tell me they have.
Yeah.
Even starting recently, and all sorts of new friends. But go check out futurequake.com. And you can hear a lot of crazy people on there, and some of them are even guests. And so, anyway,
I see what you did there.
Yeah. But sort of that's it.
Okay. Well, great, man. Thanks so much for coming on the show, and we're going to keep up with you later.
And just be a joy, man. It's an exciting time to be alive. The only stuff that's coming unglued is the stuff that ought to come unglued, and. When God says things, it says in the Bible, it says when there's a great shaking, and that's that. So that which that cannot be shaken remains.
Boom.
So God's got his hand on all of this. The question is he going to find you bent over working when he shows up? That's the big thing to keep your time in. Is he going to find your elbows flying when he gets here? Just chew on that one.
Amen. Chew, chewy, chewy, chew. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Hey, by the way, that's an old Sunshine Pop song there. Bubblegum Pop. Chewy Chewy, the 1910 Fruit Gum Company.
Okay.
Was the rock band. You go look that up.
I'm going to look that up right now.
They did Yummy, 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 I got love in my tummy.
Oh, yeah, I know that one.
Love it. Yeah, Chewy Chewy was the follow-up about a girl that always chews chewing gum. So.
Oh, okay. Well,
how's that for an arcane reference?
You're doing great. I mean, they just keep coming.
All right.
You're educating us all on days long past.
And useless information. That's my specialty. Wait till you see the book series. You'll get a mother load of it.
Through 3,500 pages or more.
Yeah. Everybody get you a good comfy seat. Get ready.
All right, buddy. You have a good day.
Okay. Love you, brother. Love everybody else out there.
You too, bro. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Doc Fuchs, Doc Fuchs, Doc Fuchs. There you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Dr. Fuchs is such a unique soul. Good old Doc Fuchs. So go make sure to check out the Two Spies Report, also Future Quake, and listen to some old material. It's good stuff. All right. Okay, well, that's just about it, guys. So if you could, this is just one more just polite reminder. Go to iTunes and leave a review and a rating. Also subscribe to the YouTube channel and the podcast. You will not regret it. I will also give you a high five, non-refundable high five. Here's time for a little shout out to our newest and most wonderful supporter of the show on patreon.com, Haley. Thank you, Haley. You have no idea what this means to everyone listening, and we hope that you live a long and healthy life filled with all the great things that life has to offer. If you guys would like to, or if anyone else out there would like to help support the Joyspiracy theory, it's truly listener supported. You can go to patreon.com/the Joyspiracy theory. That's Patreon, patreon.com/the Joyspiracy theory. And you can sign up to be a supporter of the show. And I would greatly appreciate it. And I said in the past that I'm going to be figuring out the rewards as we go here. I'm still kind of figuring out what sort of rewards to give the people, the supporters, the wonderful, wonderful supporters of the show. But so they're not on there yet. But that gives you the freedom, maybe not the incentive, but the freedom to go to Patreon and sign up to be a supporter of the show for any amount you want. $1, $2, $3. The possibilities are endless. And later on, I will be figuring out the rewards. And if you're signed up, you'll just get the reward. That's just what you get, depending on the level of support. And so don't be afraid. Go do that if you'd like, if the Lord is calling you. But if you do, the Lord will bless you. If you put this seed money into the joy, just kidding. But yeah, so if you feel like you want to do that, that's there. Oh, anyways, what else is going on? Oh yeah, here at the Joyspiracy Theory, we believe prayer is a huge part of our lives, and just really affects everything. I mean, a good prayer life, having a good prayer support system, it's all top notch. So pray for me. Duh. Secondly, if you guys go to the joyspiracytheory.com, you'll see a little prayer button, and what that does is opens up a nice little contact form, and you can send in your prayer requests, or join the prayer team, or do any number of things, or just say hi. But if you say hi, we'll still pray for you. Okay, so go do that. It's very important, and it's a huge part of the Christian life, and we want to make sure that it stays that way, because it's very effective. That's right. So again, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Joyspiracy Theory. And here is my attempt at a tagline. Joy, joy, corduroy, cabin boy, cloy, soy, toy, alloy. I'm just reading a list of words that rhyme with joy. Illinois. So if you have a better tagline, please let me know. I'm still figuring it out. You can go to thejoyspiracy.com. You'll see a little send voicemail button on the right-hand side of the page, maybe the left, who knows. And you can click on that and send me a little message and a little tagline, because I am terrible at it. All right, go do that. Here's one now.
Hey Basil, this is Eunice. I just wanted to say thank you for the Joyspiracy Theory. It has helped me, especially the YouTube vid when you talked about being grateful. It helped lift me out of a place of despair. So, I have a suggestion for a tagline. Here goes. Now the God of hope fill you with all joy and be grateful for something in your life every day. God bless you, brother. Continue in the work of the Lord.